So this one I called partial sequential match because I couldn't think of what else to call it. Let's look at the original idea. This is Tom Urtis, and he has a great website, and he puts a lot of tweets. So here we have a partial string, 354. Every time we find 354 in these cells, we want to add up the numbers here. And over here is another example where we're going to average the numbers. So, we can see inside of here 354 three different times, and you simply grab these numbers. So you can go over to Tom's website. Let's take a quick look. And there's Tom. And he was recently just re-awarded the Microsoft Excel MVP award. So that's fantastic. 8 years in a row, I believe. So let's look at this one again. Here we have the puzzle, and we're trying to add up everything here. Now this is what I did. To challenge myself, made it a little bit harder. So I said the three values, the 354, they don't have to be all together. They can be anywhere in the cell. So you see in the green cell here, we have a 3, which is right there. We have a 5, and we have a 4. So they have to be in the order left to right. Couple ways we could do this. We could say they have to be anywhere in the cell, or they have to be in the same order, left to right. That is actually quite challenging. So you can download the file and you can read the longer description here. But now let's try to solve it. So the first thing, you can see that this formula is crazy long. It actually even cuts off the screen here. And I almost gave up. I think I was doing this Tuesday night until, I don't know, 1 in the morning. But it is possible. The only twist is that these values have to be unique. I don't know of a way to do it with one formula. If we do something like this and we pick 353, where we're picking one number twice, because you see, this is one method of doing it that's not one step. It's a helper column approach. I'll show you that in a minute. This is the one formula approach. And when we say 353, well, it also includes cells where we only have 1 3 and 1 5. In other words, we don't have 2 3s. We don't find these values in the same order. So I'll turn this back to 354, and the two different ways match. So first of all, let's just look at the simple way to do it. I'm going to highlight these two columns and unhide everything in here. So I'm simply taking out the digits in here, taking them out individually, putting them in these 3 cells, and then I'm just going through here and I'm trying to find a 3 inside of this cell. The 8 means that the 3 is the eighth character in this cell. So if we count from left to right, that 3 is the 8th character. Then I'm saying I want to get this text, everything that is to the right of that 3. So starting in position number 9, and we're taking the rest of it. Then I say, do I find a 5 inside of here? And that says it's the 10th character within here. So if we would count, that 5 is the 10th. Then one last time I'm saying, okay, well now I want to just take the remaining characters to the right of the 5 and see if we have a 4 inside of here. And then a very simple formula that just says true or false. Are these, let's just click in here, press F2 key. Is this a number? Is that a number? Is that a number? That means we found each of these individual numbers inside of that cell. So I have conditional formatting, and you see that we have 4 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're now just going to get the numbers. 200, 150, and the 28. That equals our 378. So you can download this file and sort of walk through this. It's a step-by-step approach from left to right. So this is a really important part. If you're giving this to someone as a solution and you want them to be able to work with it and maybe add more of these, if it's 4 digits or 5 digits, then you want to be able to explain it to them. It's only fair. So these formulas you can explain. They're not that complicated. Then we have the next one, and then they're always in pairs of 2. The first 2, and then actually I think it goes like this. These 2, and then these 2, and then finally these 2, right? Where we're always, the string gets smaller. It starts with the full string. We're looking for the 3 inside of there. Then we're looking for a 5 instead of this smaller string. And finally, the smallest string of characters, we're looking for a 4 inside of here. And we find it. If we don't find it 3 times, right, our final step, then that's it. We're going to get a false, right? Even if we only find 2 of them, we're going to get a false because all three have to be true. I have is number inside of here 3 times, so it has to be true all 3 times. Here, that's false, the last one. We do not find a 4 inside of here. All right, so that's sort of the step-by-step approach, an approach that you can teach almost anyone, and you could, this could be, there's different forms of this, different ways this could be, this puzzle, but sort of a substring search. So this is a reasonable way to do it from left to right. Now, if you want to try to do it the crazy way, where you do an array formula, well, it is the next thing I'm going to show you. It's this one. So this long formula, I actually put it here as text, right? All of this. It's still off the screen. So let me try to cut this and move it over here. Now it's almost in what you can see, but let's go through it step by step. So step 1, we want to extract the digits in this cell individually. Okay? So that's our description. So let's look in here. Let's sort of isolate this part. So that's what I'm doing in here. Right now, this is hard-coded. 1, 2, 3. Now, this could be 4 digits, as we have right there. But for now, we'll fix that. But this is only taking out 3 digits. This is what we call, this little thing here is an array constant. It's in there, and we're just, I'm going to highlight this and press the F9 key so you see what it's doing. It's pulling out a 3, semicolon, then a 5, semicolon, then a 4. The double quotes indicate that it's text. So it pulls out those 3 values. Now, here's the formula text, and here are the values. I just pasted in the cell. So you have to download this really to walk through it if you want to look at this array approach. If not, just use something like this, a sum if that's saying, what I was showing you earlier, if it's true, then just add up the values in column A. Simple as that, much easier. Anyways, let's go back to step 2. Dynamically count digits. So we're going to look in here and see how before I only had the array constant with 1, 2, 3. Well, I could have, as I mentioned earlier, 4 values, or maybe only 2 or 5. So I want to take this and make it dynamic so I'm getting the correct number. So that's what I did in this step. Dynamically count the digits in here. So we go in here and we add this part, highlight all of this, and if I press the F9 key, we see the 1, 2, 3. Really, to go inside of this here and show you everything, this length, so that's pretty easy, right? The length of B1, we know that's a 3. If I highlight this little tiny part right there, press the F9 key in the keyboard, that's a 3. So we sort of see what this is doing. This is hard-coded 1, colon, and 3. So if I were to come in here and highlight everything inside of the indirect, press the F9 key, we're getting 1 to 3. Then the indirect around that part, the indirect is going to give us that reference, or the, let's go back inside of here and highlight all of this and press the F9 key. That's when we're going to see cycling through, I think it's this part right here. Oops, it is the row part. Yeah, highlighting this and press the F9 key, we get our 1 and 2 and 3. Now, we see those semicolons in there. Well, what does that mean? Well, it's sort of going horizontally. We want it to be vertical because in the end, we want to. This is all vertical, right? Check all of these guys and get the numbers in column A and simply add up those green numbers, those 4 green numbers. You can't. There's one below here. That's the 4th one, the 200. Okay, so let's now go to this is our next step, step 3. We're going to just put transpose. Let's go back in here, look at our array, press the F9 key, 354. But we want to transpose it, so it's all vertical only. Now I go in here, highlight F9. Now the semicolons have been changed to commas. So this is now just sort of going down. It's all vertical. All right. Next step, we need to find digits within text. So, even though I wrote all these things for myself, I still have to look at this and figure out what I did again. So here we have the transpose. Now I'm adding the find function. So if I look at this, here we go. All of these values, which indicate the 3, the 5, and the 4, we're using the find function to say find not just one thing. Normally the find function, you're looking for one thing within one cell, right? But in this case, we're looking for multiple things inside of multiple cells. That's why it's an array formula, that's for sure. So we're coming out of here, going back in just to look at this. We have find text, in this case, I guess you could say various text values within these various cells. So we get kind of a crazy, if you look over here, if you download the file, you see all of this stuff in here. And really what it means is, here we have 3 digits, 3, 5, and a 4. So we see 3 things every time. We see value, comma, value, semicolon. So right there we have 3 things that horizontally 3 things, then a semicolon, it's checking the next 3 things. Now, see how we have an 8, an 18, and 27? Those 3 things indicate that we found the 3, the 5, and the 4 in the second pair of 3 right here. Right? So we look for the 3 in there, we find it. It's right there. We can see it between the R and the D. What about the 5? The 5 is right there in between the I and the H. And then finally we have the 4, which is way over here between the V and the A. So the 8, 18, and 27 indicate how far within here that we find it. All right. So that part we've got now. Find digits within text. That's what all of this is doing. So find these guys within those guys, right? That's the text from all of these cells. Now, if it's not an error, we want to see row numbers. That was the next part that I did to try to make sense of this. So I add if not is error around this whole find. So here we have our find and our looking for all this stuff. But if it's not an error, meaning that if it's not an error, obviously we do find it, like I showed you here with the looking in the second one, where it had 3 numbers. It found the 3, the 5, and the 4. So if it's not an error, give me the row numbers. That's what we have here. So we have our if statement. If not an error, give me those row numbers. So let's just highlight this whole thing. Logical test. F9, you see all the true false values, right? And then in the end we are getting row numbers. So let's highlight this whole thing, press F9. So now you see that substitutes finding the number inside of the cell 3 times with just the row number. So the first time it's all blanks. The second time we have 3 8s because this is row 8. We get down to a whole bunch of blanks, then a 12 because it only found one number. 14 and a 14, 15. The next time we find all 3 is right here, 17, 17, 17. Whenever you look between the semicolons, you have to have 3 numbers. So here the 17 means this is also a good one. It's in green, of course. Now, row 24 is the next one. And we scroll all the way over to here and we see 24, 24, 24. So that indicates that we found the 3, the 5, and the 4. Okay. Next. Are all digits found. So inside of here, what did I do now? The frequency, oh wow. So go like this, the data array, highlight that, press F9. And I'm comparing these pairs of numbers. It could be, because we have 3 numbers here, these are always 3. I'm comparing them with the bins array part, the rows, F9. So now, see how the second one, okay? So this is our first horizontal part, then a semicolon, the second one, 8, 8, and 8, which again is this part right here. We're comparing it to, in the bins array, the 8 right there. So the 7 is compared to these guys, nothing. The 8 is compared to these guys. So that continues all the way through. So what do we get in the end? Well, let's take a look at it. Let's highlight this whole thing and press the F9 key once again. So now we're getting 0 and a 3. And we see another 3 over here. So because we have 3 digits, we care about the 3, this 3, that 3, that 3, which in the end is, what we see here in green again. So I'm going to press the escape key. And now, let's just go back and take one more look. If I hit F9, once again we see those semicolons. It's going horizontal. What we want to see is this vertical. So after every number we have a comma. Because in the end we want to get these sales numbers and they are vertical. So the next step is simply to transpose it. So this whole thing, if I highlight the whole thing, I press the F9 key, now we have those numbers vertical. So a 0, comma, it means go down to the next one. A 3, various zeros, a 1, a 0, a 2, but we get down here, it's the next 3 right there. And then we go down much further, another 3, and another 3, which is the row 29, which we can't quite see. So now what do we do? Well, we identify rows where they're all found. So that's simply doing this. Now this is off the screen again, but if I were to take all of these guys and press the F9 key, we get those numbers again. Now we're going to compare all of these to the length, or whatever here, it's just a comparison, the length of B2. Currently it's 3, it could be 4, it could be 2. But if I highlight this and I press the F9 key, that's a 3. So, is the 0 equal to 3? No. Is the 1 equal to 3? Yes. We go all the way through that, and I'll show you if I highlight this and press F9. This, now we're getting false, true, false, false, true, or false, false, or false, or true way over here, all the way through for all of the rows from row 7 until row 38, which is a bit off the screen at the bottom. Okay, so finally I can go get the sales values, which is, we're almost done now. So now we can just go get those values, but there's, let me just highlight this part right there. Logical test, F9. When it's true, we want to go and get the values from A7 to A38, but once again we have to transpose them. Long story short, I'm going to F9. We want them just to be in the same, going down. So that's what the commas mean. One value, go down. Another value, go down. No semicolons, only commas. So we're not going to get the 25. There's 2 over at the top on the right that you can't see. But the first number we get is going to be a 28 because the second value here is true. So I guess I could do this and just press Alt Enter. So now you see it sort of on the screen. False, the 14, which is right there. True, the 28, which is right there. That is the 28. And then there's a whole bunch of false, and finally we get another true, and that is the number 50, which is there. So the very last step is the simplest one, and we're simply adding up all of these numbers. If we look inside of our array, click in the cell, click number 1, and press the F9 key. When it's false, we get a 0. When it's true, we get a 28, which is this one, a 50, a 100, and if we scroll down just a little bit, we get that 200. So, very long solution. And I also must say that if I change this to a 353, this isn't inflated because as long as it looks in here and as long as it finds a 3, just one 3 and a 5, it pulls all the numbers from column A. So that's a little bit different thing. But if you want to find all 3 values in the left to right order, then that's pretty tough. It's better to do what I had in here between column B and I, which is sort of a step-by-step using the helpers. But if you want to try the array, this is quite a crazy one. Not very nice to drop this off on someone who doesn't understand arrays. They probably would never be able to audit this unless they spent hours or unless they were a programmer. But anyways, that's kind of a crazy array. It was fun to kind of crack it. So as long as these are unique, it will work. And they have to be numbers as well because we're using the frequency in here. If they're text, well, maybe someone else can come up with something pretty creative. But that's it.